Hello, and welcome back to another episode of It's All Connected. I'm Corbin, one of your hosts and journalist over at the Illuminerdi.com, and these are my co-hosts.
I'm Richard. I'm another journalist at the Illuminerdi. Happy to be here. We've got plenty to talk about today, so I'm glad to be here.
I'm Bryce West. I'm also a writer for the Illuminerdi, and are we gonna go right into it? WandaVision.
Yes, sir.
Are we going to anything else?
I don't really have anything else I want to talk about straight off the bat. I think we got to get right into it.
Certainly. Yeah, I mean that's what the fans are going to be here for. So WandaVision, we already read. I read Richard's review of it, and I have to say I agreed entirely. Go check it out. It's on the Illuminerdi.com. It's a spoiler-free review of the first three episodes, right?
Yes, first three.
And basically, I think through and through, the show was fantastic. There was one thing that I was craving that I didn't get. It's not action heavy. There's no real fight sequences or anything like that. But that doesn't mean that that's not a negative thing in any way. It's very different stylistically than what we've seen before, and I think it stands on its own even without it. And I'm sure it's coming in later.
Yeah, I was going to say that doesn't mean it's not coming.
It'll be here.
Surely, like whenever they get out of whatever is going on before we get into spoilers. Before they get out of whatever it is they're in, after they get out of there, surely there's going to be something that goes down action-wise. So, and it's not going to be a Marvel project without action, right?
No doubt.
So,
Exactly. And here's my thing. This is the first time they've ever done anything on Disney+. This is the first time they've done this kind of long-form episode-based storytelling. So it may be a slow start, but it's called a slow build. Get with the program, guys.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think it's going to build up, and I think it's going to be really, really good.
And based off the trailers, we knew this just was what it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
They showed the 50s sitcom, the 60s sitcom. These two have already seen the third episode, but I haven't. So I assume that next episode we're either going into 70s or 80s, because they did show something 80s related, or at least it looks like in the trailer, something like that. So yeah, I think that we're probably going to go through all of the sitcoms. That's with me not watching episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we get to present day, maybe then that's whenever things start to hit the fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I love it. Like I love stuff like this, like super niche, like real like oldie stuff like this. Like I love this, and so I love this kind of style of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I am totally on board. Like as soon as the theme song for the first episode started playing, I'm like, I'm sold.
Great.
I'm sold. Like this is already, I already love this just based off of like the first like couple seconds of the show. So
the only thing that disappoints me about that is that Paul Bettany said that he and Elizabeth Olsen were at one point set to actually sing that, and I guess they just didn't get to the studio to do it in time. That would have been amazing to hear them do that.
Yeah, no doubt. Without revealing anything about episode 3, all I'm going to say is at the top of episode 2, it shifts into color, right? So you can logically surmise that the third episode is going to be in a time period where they'd have color television.
Yeah,
it's not hard to pick out.
Yeah. So I'm still just waiting for the Full House episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's gotta happen. They have to do it. Elizabeth Olsen is the star of this show. They have to do a Full House episode. I know that she wasn't necessarily in full. I take that back. I think she was in a episode of Full House as like some sort of extra
or something.
Yeah, like an extra character or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, just the history with her sisters in Full House, they've got to do it. They have to do an episode of Full House. So.
And after that ad that they premiered last week, I'm waiting for the Modern Family episode because that looks hilarious already with Elizabeth Olsen just doing the straight into the camera thing. That looks hilarious.
Well, and then should we? All right, I think. Have we done our non-spoiler opinions? Can we go into spoilers now, or
it's been out for over 24 hours? I'm pretty sure we can go into spoilers.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not worried about giving out spoilers. Yeah, I was just asking if you guys are ready.
Yeah, no, I'm ready to roll.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm so ready.
So-
I've been ready for this for 2
All right,
weeks.
so spoiler warning, if for some reason you haven't watched WandaVision and you're watching, this show right now, you should probably turn it off
back
and
in about
come back.
40 minutes or so.
Yeah, maybe I'll put in a timestamp for people who watch after the premiere, or I don't know, maybe I'll forget.
back
I
later.
probably will forget. Yeah, come back later. Let a friend know whenever we're done. But you know, so I'm wondering, you know, because we're ready, okay?
We're ready.
So
Let's do
get
it.
off, you know.
Let's do it.
But so at the end of episode 2, Wanda is pregnant.
Yes.
And so I'm wondering when the kids are going to actually come into play, and like, and because I mean that would work great for something like Full House or Modern Family, you know, having the kids there, you know, and so I feel like the kids eventually are going to come in and actually be a part of these sitcoms. So, and I'm assuming they're going to be the Wonder Twins. So, you know,
Well,
I mean,
well, in the comics, they're known as Wiccan and Speed. I don't know a lot about their power set.
I was right with
but
the Wonder Twins, right? That's what they're called.
I don't know
Wonder
if it's
Twins.
the
That's DC. I believe
That's
they originally
DC.
debuted in Super Friends.
I think I'm thinking of Wonder Man.
Yes.
Whatever.
Wonder Man.
Yeah.
Speaking of Wonder Man, let me, if I may interject real quick. There was a featurette with Jack Schaefer. I don't know if I'm saying
Jack
that
Schaefer.
right.
Yeah, it was Jack Schaefer.
And in the background of it, there's very clearly artwork of Wonder Man. And in the comics, Vision is actually, he's got some very direct ties to Wonder Man, and you'd need someone with a little bit more knowledge to tell you more about that. But I think it would be possible that we'd see him. He was originally, there was going to be some Easter eggs for him in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. So
I was just going to say Guardians 2, yeah.
Yeah, so Marvel's been wanting to bring Wonder Man to the forefront for a good few years now, at the very least. So that was pretty dope.
Didn't Wanda and Vision's kids have some sort of name, or am I just completely mistaken on that?
Outside of Speed and Wiccan, I'm not sure.
I thought they had some sort of, maybe I'm wrong, but
like a duo name or something.
Yeah, like a duo name. I can't. I guess
we'll have to
I'm
look that up and come back to that later.
Yeah, I can't find anything on that, so I guess not. Yeah. But
I
don't know
Wiccan
why I was
Speed
thinking of the Wonder Twins. I guess I was getting mixed up with Wonder Man because of the connection there, but
right.
Yeah. So whatever. The kids are coming. So
yes,
they are founding members of the Young Avengers, if I'm not mistaken, as well. That's something that they definitely seem to be sowing the seeds of in Phase 4.
The Young Avengers are coming.
Yeah. America Chavez and Doctor Strange 2. There was rumors of Hulkling in WandaVision, actually. Obviously, we haven't seen that yet.
Patriots coming in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yep. And obviously Hawkeye 2.0, Haley Bishop.
Yep, Kate Bishop.
Haley Steinfeld, Kate Bishop, yeah.
Got Cassie Lang in Ant-Man 3.
Yes, yeah, they're definitely on the way.
Do we think that they're going to do a Young Avengers movie or do that as a Disney Plus show? Because it seems like all the Young Avengers characters are on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of Cassie Lang, yeah.
Right, yeah. So I feel like they might be doing like they'll do the Avengers, whatever
like
the
Avengers
fifth
5.
one is called. Yeah, in Phase 5 in the movies, and then we'll have the Young Avengers probably also in Phase 5. Because it's not in Phase 4 on Disney.
But more of a Disney. That's actually not a bad theory. I hadn't thought about that before, but I could see them doing that.
Speaking of Phase 5, but possibly the coldest thing I've ever seen Kevin Feige do was someone was interviewing him, and they were like, "Can you tell us when Phase 4 ends?" And he just said, "No."
Actually, I know exactly what that is. I can tell the story. So it was actually Charles Murphy of Murphy's Multiverse. It was the last question of the press conference for the press junket that I got to be a part of. And Charles Murphy was asking him if there's any, like you said, end dates Phase 4. And Kevin Feige just flat out, straight out, no.
Oh, so cold.
Didn't even expand. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've got so many different projects in development, like Armor Wars and Ironheart, without like set release dates. And so the big question is, where are these going to fall? Is Phase 4 going to be a lot longer than we originally thought? Because when they first announced it, it seemed like it ended with Thor: Love and Thunder, but now they've got all this coming up. So Windows Phase 4 begin, Windows Phase 5 end. Obviously, Feige's not going to tell us, so it's just a waiting game on that.
Yeah. So Richard, you were there for that press junket, right? So
Yes.
so with all the videos I've seen, now this might be me just like looking at like bad videos or whatever, but from everything that I've seen, Kevin Feige looks like he just straight up does not want to be there. Like, was that the impression that you had whenever you were there?
It was only about an hour long or so, and there was 8 people there. I mean, there was Kevin Feige, Jack Schaefer, Matt Shackman, and I think 4 of the 5 people from WandaVision. There was Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, Catherine Hahn, Tiana Paris, and then it was Jaleel White hosting it. So yeah, I think it was just them, but he didn't really get asked a ton of questions, and it was only an hour long.
I would be able to talk to anyone else.
If
I was present for that,
Exactly.
my eyes would be laser focused on Feige.
Like, how do you have Kevin Feige in a chat room and not ask him like all the questions? Is my thing.
God,
like, yeah.
Yeah.
So did he seem like he didn't want to be there? Because like whenever the individual from Collider asked him the Daredevil question or the TV question, he seemed. Well, I mean, he just kind of looks into the camera, and I don't know Kevin Feige personally, obviously, so he might just mean his way of joking with where he just doesn't answer questions like that. But that's the second time to where I have heard of Kevin Feige giving a cold, straight no answer, and I understand why. I mean, obviously he shouldn't answer these questions, because he doesn't want to spoil the surprise. But he is being extra straight with his answers this go around. So I've never seen him be so straight with his answers before.
I'm betting it's this. I'm betting just because this is the first time we've had any new Marvel content in a year and a half. It's the very start of Phase 4. I think it's just going to be a while until we hear anything official, considering it's so early into Phase 4 right now.
Sure, yeah.
So before we're going to come back to WandaVision, because I have a few other questions I want to ask you guys. But since we're just on Feige right now, I actually did want to bring up a quote from, I believe, an interview with The Hollywood Reporter pertaining to the original era of Marvel TV shows. I'm going to pull that up and read that real quick. So I kind of asked him, what's the status of the Defenders, right? And he responded saying, everything is on the board. That's one of the fun things about the comics, is that the characters would appear and disappear and come and go. All of it is inspiration for the future. There's some great characters and actors from those shows, end quote. And so to me, what that says is that all of the Marvel TV shows, the original era, that is fair game, right? We've seen reports that Daredevil is going to be in Spider-Man 3 from Murphy's Multiverse originally. And then Brandon Davis of comicbook.com recently said that he believes that Daredevil had, Charlie Cox had already filmed his scenes.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's set photos of that too. So,
I hadn't seen that. That'd be wild.
I haven't seen them myself, but I've seen that there's I've heard that there are set photos of Charlie Cox.
Gotcha. And then we've also we got Daniel Richtman reporting that Jessica Jones is potentially going to appear in She-Hulk. So combine that with that quote, to me that says these shows are in fact canon, because that was obviously something that's been hotly debated for a number of years. It's something we've talked about on the show here. How do you guys interpret that quote? What do you think he's saying?
I don't interpret it quite as everything is canon. I interpret it as the Defenders are canon, because that was what was directly asked in the question.
True. That's a good point.
Kevin Feige was asked about the Defenders. He wasn't asked about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He wasn't asked about Inhumans. He wasn't asked about Hellstrom. And Hellstrom especially. I mean, we've had conversations about Hellstrom before, to where Hellstrom definitely is adjacent like to the MCU. It could have some sort of connections, but it's kind of like half the Arrowverse shows where it's Arrowverse adjacent, but
there are a few small nods to the MCU throughout it. Like there's the Roxxon building, there's some newspaper clippings that are very clearly from newspapers that have appeared throughout the MCU prior. But Hellstrom is certainly an outlier. I think the only two things that I would consider still kind of up in the air is the final 2 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hellstrom. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for continuity reasons, not addressing the snap, all that good stuff. And then Hellstrom, because the showrunner himself did say this is not officially MCU canon. It's connected to it in some ways. But here's the thing. I think I would agree that if anyone is likely to come back, it's going to be some members of the Defenders. Daredevil was always the most popular property from the original era of Marvel TV. But here's my counter argument, to where you say, he wasn't talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Runaways, or Cloak and Dagger necessarily. Sky, Daisy, Quake, that character from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. canonically grew up in the same orphanage as Matt Murdock in Daredevil. There are direct ties from Luke Cage to Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger showed up in Runaways. You can find connective tissue from the Defenders to all these TV shows.
Yeah.
So if they are canon, then I would say that those are as well. But of course,
right. Well, and of course, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I mean, they like Coulson, he's in it.
Yeah, of course.
And then I believe Nick Fury was in an episode too, right?
Yep.
And
He was
Maria
in a couple
Hill.
episodes, early season 1. He was in second episode of season 1 and the season finale of season 1.
Of course there's connections, but I think that phase 4, we're dealing with the multiverse right now. And so I definitely think, especially with the canon breaking ties that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the final 2 seasons have, that maybe that could be how they try and tie it all back together. Or, again, like we're dealing with the multiverse. So there could be a bunch of different universes to where technically the Daredevil, the Defenders universe could be a universe adjacent to the MCU that is similar to the MCU, but instead the Defenders events happen. Whereas in this main universe they didn't, because Charlie Cox is mysteriously appearing in a Spider-Verse movie, to where that is possible. Now that being said, I don't think that's what they're doing with the Defenders per se, but I think that might be something that they do with Hellstrom.
Hellstrom
or the last 2 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because from what we've discussed, it seems like there's no problems with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. seasons 1 through 5. So they could have time traveled and then, or 1 through 4.
Yeah, right.
They could have time traveled and then made a different timeline for themselves, because with the way time travel is explained in Endgame, whenever you time travel, that makes a completely new timeline.
Branch realities. Right. Correct.
So I feel like we can use Endgame to kind of explain the unexplained in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.,
Certainly.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
Because I mean, if Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. follows the same time travel rules as Endgame, whenever they time traveled, they made a new timeline for themselves. So
right. And then one more connection I was thinking about to S.H.I.E.L.D. was Jamie Alexander Sif was in season 1 and 2 around, I think it was close to Winter Soldier, like before Winter Soldier for season 1, and then after the events of Thor the Dark World and everything in season 2, and after the Inhumans stuff and everything. And then she's coming back for Love and Thunder. So that
we're seeing a lot of back and forth. Definitely.
Absolutely. Especially with her.
Yeah. Do either of y'all have any more thoughts on that, or are you ready for the most beautiful segue back to WandaVision you have ever seen? The best segue I've ever done on the show.
You know what? I love your segues. You don't disappoint.
So.
All right. So, as we mentioned, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. seasons 1 through 4, ostensibly MCU canon. Season 4 features a fan favorite character, Robbie Reyes, the Ghost Rider, right? And in the comics, Robbie's spirit of vengeance is different. But in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it appears that it is Zarathos, the spirit of vengeance, right? And anyone who's a Ghost Rider fan knows who bestows who bestows the Ghost Rider with the power of Zarathos? Mephisto. Okay? Who do y'all think the beekeeper is in WandaVision? Do we think Mephisto is going to be a player? Could the devil himself be the one that is doing these things to Wanda, that's created this crazy reality?
I don't know. It's weird. I think whoever the beekeeper is the person who's been talking to Wanda. I mean, it has to be
the radio.
Right. Yeah, through the radio.
He seemed sinister to me. It was so
maybe
creepy.
not. I don't know. So maybe yeah. So I think Mephisto is definitely involved with the history there.
The only thing I'm thinking with the radio, it did sound somewhat like Randall Park as Jimmy Woo. It did kind of sound like him for a second. So
see, and all three of us have very different opinions on who the person in the radio is. Should we go into that right now?
I think it might be Hawkeye. It sounded a little bit like Clint Barton to me. I didn't
think about that.
Maybe not,
but he and Scarlet Witch had a connection in the movies.
Yeah. It totally makes sense.
So I also had those two theories as well. However,
Okay.
from what I have heard behind the scenes, and we've talked about this a little bit, I have heard that Evan Peters is supposed to be in this show for some reason. Evan Peters played Quicksilver, Wanda's brother in the X-Men movies, right? So I don't think you would bring in Evan Peters, a Quicksilver actor, into a Scarlet Witch show and not have him play Quicksilver. So
I'm leaning toward that too. Yeah.
So I maybe he may not be the person on the radio, but Quicksilver, I think the Quicksilver from the X-Men movies is going to be involved somewhat in this series. And if Evan Peters wasn't playing Quicksilver, then why is Marvel being so secretive of it? Because I've heard of websites releasing stories of Evan Peters being in WandaVision, but then they are asked by Marvel to take them down. So that's I think that's a major red flag that something's going on there.
I've heard those same stories.
I feel like almost if Marvel just let it stay up, maybe people would have forgotten about it. Instead
because it's so secretive.
Yeah. So it may be that he is not in the show and the stories are false, but if it is true that Marvel is asking these sites to take down the stories, I doubt that it's false.
It's got to be something.
So I am intrigued to see what it is they're doing with Evan Peters in WandaVision. I think it's got to be Quicksilver. If he isn't the person talking to her through the radio, which is my current theory, then he's in there regardless. Some way, shape, or form. I had the Hawkeye theory while I was watching, and then afterwards I also had the Jimmy Woo theory. But then I started thinking, it's just like, well, Evan Peters is supposed to be in this from what I understand. So
you know what I love about this is that all three of us have different ideas of who's in the radio, but we all agree that we think that Quicksilver's coming to this show.
Yeah. So I mean, but I don't necessarily disagree with who you think is on the radio either, because like I said, I've thought about Jimmy Woo, I've thought about Hawkeye.
Yeah, it could be any of them.
So yeah, I think all three of them are equally on the table. Maybe Quicksilver is a little bit bigger of a long shot because we don't necessarily know for sure if he's in it. But Hawkeye, we know he's still alive. We know he's got a Disney Plus show coming out. So it makes sense that he would be able to have some sort of role of WandaVision, especially their relationship in the movies. And then Jimmy Woo, we know he's in the show. We know he's some sort of FBI agent, and we know at some point he's going to have a major role. So that makes sense as well. So, and Quicksilver, while Wanda wasn't in the X-Men universe, Quicksilver in the comics and in the MCU, it's a different version, but Quicksilver is Wanda's brother. So there's a huge connection there as well. So, I mean, this show has about 1 million different directions that it can go into.
Very true.
And
there's only an hour of footage.
Yeah. And I absolutely love it for that. I love that there's literally countless possibilities for what could happen in the show, and we have absolutely not even a beginning of a clue of what could be going on here.
We just don't know what to expect.
We know Hydra is involved. We know Sword is probably involved.
Roll credits.
But that's about it. So.
Yeah, I think in the case of Quicksilver, for me, I've wanted more Quicksilver since Age of Ultron. I thought his death was, it was well done. It serviced the story well, but I did feel like there was a lot of untapped potential there because he died, right? And so when this show was announced, I was hoping for that version of Quicksilver to come back, even though I think most people would agree that Evan Peters' version of the character is the superior version of Quicksilver, right?
Well, he's also just had so much more screen time.
That's very true. Is multiple films. That's something that we were talking about the show that I think makes the possibility that Evan Peters is in fact playing Quicksilver yet again. Deadpool 3 is coming to the MCU. This has been confirmed. And Evan Peters as Quicksilver has a brief cameo in Deadpool 2. So there's already a connection of him playing that character to the MCU, even though it's yet to film, yet to be seen by audiences. So I don't have any idea who else he'd be playing. I think he would make a killer Mephisto if that's what it is, if it's just something out of left field.
And that could be it. And that may be why they were so secretive of it, because that will be a huge reveal. Mephisto being the puppet master behind all of this. So that is the only other outcome that I can see with this whole Evan Peters situation.
Yeah. I'm also curious too, because I do think Mephisto is coming into the MCU somehow.
Mhm.
I've also heard rumors. There was a report from Murphy's Multiverse a while back on something from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier about that biker gang that they were going to be going up against. And they had this jacket on that had images that really, really, kind of inferred Mephisto coming in. So he could come in either of these first couple series. I do think he's on the way. It'll be interesting to see when.
This is definitely just speculation on my part. No insider knowledge here. I think Mephisto might be being set up to be the Thanos of Phase 4, the next big bad. If you watch the Loki trailer, if you pay attention, in I believe it's in the TVA's kind of area, but obviously, trailers can be misleading, and I may be mistaken about that. There's a stained glass window where it looks like people are worshiping a devil, a satanic figure, right? And then another thing that I did not catch watching the show, but thankfully Twitter likes to catalog everything possible, so people caught on.
Thank God for Twitter sometimes.
And I didn't. In the kind of in-universe commercials in the show, if you go back and look at the clock in one of them, there's no 6. And if you look at, I can't remember if it was the radio or the toaster, but on one of them, there's no 6 there either. There's numbers going up and past 6, but it's not there. And then you've also obviously got Agnes, or Dottie makes the comment that, the devil's in the details. And then Agnes goes, it's not the only.
That's not the only place he's been.
Yeah, yeah, right.
I'm loving Catherine Hahn so far, by the way.
Yeah, no, she's been great, without a doubt.
Yeah,
without a doubt. But I think Mephisto, I'm seeing, and you mentioned Falcon the Winter Soldier too. So if he's being teased in Loki and potentially Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and here in WandaVision, there was rumors of a Ghost Rider project in development at Marvel Studios. There is a lot of evidence pointing towards Marvel's version of the devil coming, and who better to follow up Thanos with than Satan?
It's about the only thing that could top it, possibly.
Yeah, because
does the Marvel universe have a version of God as well?
There's the one above all, and it's interesting because DC likes to get into Christian theology way more than Marvel does in the source material.
Absolutely,
Marvel's super flip-floppy about whether Satan actually exists or. Because there's Mephisto, and he pretended to be Satan for a good while. In Hellstrom, Hellstrom's father, claimed to be Satan for a while, but in reality, he was just a hell lord named Marduk Kurios. And even in Al Ewing's Immortal Hulk ongoing series right now, there's a hell lord called the One Below All, who's like, he's the inverse of the One Above All. Hell's a very interesting concept in the Marvel comics.
Because DC is pretty simple. There's Lucifer.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's God,
absolutely.
So, So I was wondering if that was kind of the same-ish way in Marvel. So, okay. So, it'll be interesting to see where they're heading with this, because it does seem like Mephisto definitely is playing a role here, and in the future as well. Because whatever happens here in WandaVision and Spider-Man is going to directly correlate to Doctor Strange,
right?
So, and that he's another mystical character, similar to Wanda. So, it's
something else I was.
Oh, I just realized your necklace, Richard. The time
that's
stone.
Sick.
Yeah,
I didn't see that either. Eye of Agamotto, nice.
You know what? Just a really funny side story. The time stone in it wasn't actually as green as it was. My wife went in there with makeup and painted it green.
Awesome.
That's dope.
Because she's as big a Marvel fan as I am, and I have the coolest person ever.
That's really cool. Yeah,
I
love that.
This is awesome.
Shout out to Miss Nebens. That's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. But one thing I was thinking about, you were mentioning the Agnes thing. I actually wrote something up yesterday that there's a little small detail that Agnes mentioned about her anniversary when Wanda was talking about hers, that the anniversary, her husband couldn't remember their anniversary unless there was a beer bottle with June 2nd on it. Yeah. And somebody pointed out on Twitter that June 2nd of 1692 was the start date of the Salem witch trials.
Yeah.
Which again leads into all this supernatural witch stuff. And
crazy.
I think Agnes is going to end up being Agatha Harkness in this series at some point. I think that's what they're building up to, especially, that little Easter egg, maybe it doesn't mean anything, but it's a Marvel show. I'm pretty sure it's going to mean something.
Everything means something in
I'm
the MCU.
absolutely, yeah, I'm loving all the like the hidden Easter eggs too.
Me too.
For people to kind of connect the dots and say it's all connected. Here on WandaVision.
Well, one of my favorite ones that didn't even like connect everything as much was the helicopter at the beginning of episode 2. I mentioned this in the first episode of my own show, which is up, by the way. Check it out, WandaVision Weekly.
Check it out.
Right on.
That the helicopter is in Vision's classic color from the comics, and it has the number 57 on it, which notes his first appearance in the comics in Avengers 1 issue 57, which was back in 1968. So really, really cool nod to Vision's beginnings at the start of this show.
Yeah, that's an awesome deep cut.
Wow.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've done a fantastic job just layering the show. There's so much depth and complexity to it, so much stuff that I didn't even pick up on going through it, and I'm sure that we're going to see more and more of that as the show goes on. And I also just wanted to say, for fans out there who are not very familiar with Agatha, which I don't think any of us are an expert on the character, but effectively, she's a very powerful witch who I believe actually did some training for Scarlet Witch. So one thing that's really cool about the show that we haven't talked about, Scarlet Witch, she's displaying powers that we have not seen her use anytime before. And you could chalk this off of, these are just more illusions, that she's only able to do that because she's in this weird pocket reality coma, whatever it may be. Or we're seeing her get way more powerful than she could before. Just something as simple as her making the rings in the first episode, just manifesting something into existence. She has never done that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in Age of Ultron, we haven't seen like too much of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver's origin, have we?
Not much.
So I think it would be interesting to see them kind of delve into that a little bit. Maybe they won't until the X-Men come in because of, the whole Magneto thing. But
somebody I was actually talking to about that, somebody had a crazy idea about the people in the commercials, because I think they're the same people. What if those are Wanda's parents?
I saw the same thing. I think that's definitely possible. Another really interesting thing, a theory that I saw about the toaster, because it beeps like really ominously. It's really creepy.
Yeah, the Stark toaster.
It's Stark, right? What if these commercials are like manifestations of the most traumatic things that she's experienced? She's living in this perfect reality without. So the toaster is effectively the Stark missile. If you buy into that theory, and that is so freaking cool.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And then there was the Stromer watch, right?
Strucker watch.
Strucker, yeah. So and then that also had the Hydra logo on it. So how would that connect to?
I can't imagine that being experimented on by Baron von Strucker was a pleasant experience. That's definitely got to be traumatic, right?
Yeah.
Those two guys are at the front of the two most traumatic experiences of her life. The Stark missile, when she and her brother were bombed on in Sokovia, and then Strucker experimented on her and gave her powers. So I'm looking forward to seeing where those commercials go.
So I hated Age of Ultron, so I haven't seen it since I watched it in the theater. So I completely forgot about that, and so that's why I didn't make a connection until right now.
Go rewatch it, Bryce. Age of Ultron kicks ass.
Age of Ultron has really grown on me in recent times.
Maybe I probably need to rewatch it, because it's been 6 years since I've seen it. Then
long time.
Yeah.
So I do agree. I probably need to rewatch it. But yeah, so it's been 6 years since I've seen Age of Ultron. So yeah, that's why I completely forgot about the connection there.
It really it grows on me with every watch. And furthermore, I think Ultron is so underrated. If we get James Spader back as Ultron, even in a very limited capacity in this show, oh my god!
I just really despised what they did with Natasha and Bruce.
That's a gripe I have with that movie.
Yeah. I did not like that. Even like a percentage of a percentage. The
problem was that it was only in one movie, and then it just basically disappeared.
Because it was stupid. Nobody liked it.
That's kind of one of the funny things to me about Infinity War and Endgame. Is it felt to me like the Russo brothers were not very interested in continuing that plot thread, but they have to kind of. So like you see Bruce and Natasha, connect and reconnect in Infinity War, and they're just like, "Hi, nice to see you again." And then
I just love Falcon in that scene. This is awkward.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was awkward, because it was
totally
not a
was.
very organic romance. So that's definitely a fair complaint, Bryce. I won't knock you.
It came out of nowhere.
Yeah, that definitely feels like a weird Joss Whedon call.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the only one. If Justice League.
The only thing I will give Joss Whedon, some slack for in Age of Ultron, he had to fit so much, setup material into that movie. He had to set up Wakanda. He had to set up Ultron. He had to set up Civil War. He had to set up basically all of Phase 3 in that movie.
Yeah. So why shoehorn in an unnecessary relationship? I agree with you.
That's a great point.
So
yeah, I would say Age of Ultron is definitely worth a rewatch, and I think we've already seen some callbacks to it in WandaVision. I almost guarantee,
especially WandaVision coming out. You're right. I need to rewatch probably Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron is literally the WandaVision origin story.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're right. Especially since I completely forgot about the I forgot his name. Strucker.
Yeah,
which is obviously a major part, So yeah. Totally. I probably need to rewatch that.
Right on.
Definitely.
Well, we are going to take a brief intermission. Y'all won't see this in the video, but tune back in 2 seconds. Just kidding. We'll be here the whole time. I'm gonna.
Recording's gonna end.
We may cut this out. All right. Totally natural segue concluded. We're talking about WandaVision and Age of Ultron. And Bryce, you said Charles Murphy had said something interesting about the show. You want to tell the what that's about?
So he released he made this tweet and it had a screenshot from back in June when everybody was talking about the Evan Peters WandaVision stuff, and this is kind of like an excerpt from I think it's his article because he didn't source anyone else, so I assume it's from himself. So this is what it says. The waters would seem to get muddy quickly should Peters be reprising his role as Pietro and then crossing over into the MCU. But rumors have persisted that WandaVision will somehow feature Wanda's deceased brother, though Aaron Taylor Johnson, who played the speedster in Age of Ultron, has made it very clear that we shouldn't plan on seeing him suit back up as Quicksilver anytime soon. So if Taylor Johnson isn't back and Quicksilver is, that would mean a recast, something that Marvel Studios has done successfully in the past, and Peters would be an interesting choice, given the majority of fans seem to gravitate towards his portrayal of the character. This is just one possible option, of course, and perhaps not even the most likely, but it's the one that quickly comes to mind. So that was what was said back in June. So
yeah, and I was just thinking, in terms of recast, the only major role that the MCU has recast and it's worked out is Edward Norton to Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk
and War Machine.
War Machine.
Right. Yeah,
those are the two big ones.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting too because I actually love Terrence Howard.
I forget that Terrence Howard even ever played War Machine. So
Me
because
too,
Don Cheadle
is the first movie.
Yeah, Don Cheadle is just so perfect as the character. You forget that the other one even existed. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think for me, I trust Marvel with all my heart. So if they believe that was the right thing to do, is to cast Evan Peters as Pietro, but recasting, so it's Aaron Taylor Johnson's version of the character, now played by Evan Peters. I don't know if I'd be a big fan of it. My gut doesn't really trust that, but I don't know
if I'd like that either. Because that was your worry whenever we were talking privately, is that he would become the MCU version of Quicksilver, and I said I don't see them doing that. That doesn't make any sense. I think it would just be an alternate universe version. But if what Charles Murphy, which that was just his own speculation, so that wasn't like a part of the report or anything that Evan Peters could be being recast as Quicksilver. So I don't necessarily think that's like necessarily the case in regards to the story. That was just his own personal speculation.
It's certainly possible.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, if WandaVision has taught us anything so far, is that anything is on the table with that show.
And here's my theory about the whole thing. We've mentioned this in the past. I've heard other podcasts say it. I'm going to trust Kevin Feige to do what's best for the MCU because he's barely ever, if ever, steered us wrong with the MCU so far. So I think whatever's going to come, I think it's going to be, at least thought out all the way through as best as possible.
Yeah, I think for me, the main reason that I would prefer to have Evan Peters continuing to play that version of the character, continuing to play the Fox version of the character, as opposed to picking up where Taylor Johnson left off, is because
a new version. Yeah.
Aside from Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, that Evan Peters Quicksilver is easily the one character from the Fox X-Men universe that I would like to see his story continued. Dark Phoenix totally squandered him. Did not use him well at all. It was a terrible send-off for him.
I didn't even watch
Dark Phoenix did that to everybody.
I didn't even watch that movie. Like I was so done at that point.
Fox. Fox.
That's very true.
So I mean, I was a fan of the what do you want to, the first class era X-Men movies. And Dark Phoenix, like just hearing everything going on behind the scenes and just the terrible marketing with it, I was just like 0% interested in that film, and I still haven't seen it. It's on HBO Max, but I still probably don't ever plan to see it. So
here's what I'd say about Dark Phoenix. If you are a Jean Grey fan, which I consider myself to be, I really love the character, you will enjoy Dark Phoenix based solely on the merit that you got a Jean Grey movie. And that was not something that I ever expected. Even if it is largely an ensemble film, it is very much her story. That being said, that's the main thing of merit to it. If you're not already attached to the character, don't bother. There's way better Marvel movies out there. No doubt.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't know if you guys have any more WandaVision thoughts, but I'm already hooked. I can't wait to see where the next 7 weeks take us.
Yeah. If by some chance, you have not watched it, have watched the show this far, and have not, for some reason, go do it. It's awesome. It's incredible. It's
take a break
universally beloved.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
As much as I love the work we do here, I would watch WandaVision over watching this show.
Very true. Very true. So I think the next big piece of news that we got pertains to my most anticipated Marvel project, the Moon Knight Disney Plus series. So it was announced by the Hollywood Reporter that Ethan Hawke will be playing the villain in the series. We do not know who that will be. We can I think Moon Knight has two kind of classically, I would consider maybe not even his arch enemy. Raoul Bushman is a character who is probably the Joker to his Batman, so to speak. But he is a person of color, so there's no way Ethan Hawke's playing him.
No way.
Not going to happen. So it's not Bushman. No. I would expect him to he'll definitely play a role in the future, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do see Bushman in the show, just not as the main villain. I personally really hope and think it makes the most sense for Ethan Hawke to be playing a character called Jack Russell, aka Werewolf by Night. He is, Marvel's premier lycanthrope. There's a lot of really cool stories with him. I love werewolves. I just always have ever since I was a kid. And Moon Knight actually debuted in a Werewolf by Night comic. That was his first appearance. So it would really be full circle. I'd love to see that. How do y'all feel about the casting?
I think Ethan Hawke is going to be, definitely something interesting in the MCU. I mean, he is in the running along with Joaquin Phoenix as one of the most eccentric out there actors, running today. Mm-hmm. And you saw what Joaquin Phoenix did with Joker. I think whoever Ethan Hawke plays, whether it's, Werewolf by Night, Jack Russell, or anybody else, I think he's going to bring something unique and different to this role. And I'm excited to see the contrast between him and Oscar Isaac, going against each other in the series.
Oh, certainly. What about you, Bryce? Are you familiar with Ethan Hawke at all, or not really?
No, I'm not really too familiar with his work, but seeing you guys excited makes me excited. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with the history of Moon Knight, but I definitely am intrigued by this show, and to hear that we've got two very eccentric actors here, Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac, who are both known to play some pretty crazy roles. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely excited to see the contrast with the two of them, and to see them work together on screen. So I mean, I'm on board if you guys are on board, so you guys seem excited about it. So
right on.
So it sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think, and the other thing that I'll put out here, I would much rather Dracula be saved for the Blade franchise, because Blade Trinity did a horrible job with Dracula, and he deserves to be done justice. There are people speculating that Ethan Hawke could be playing the MCU's version of Dracula, so that is another possibility.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that he can't be in Blade as well.
That's a very good point. Yeah,
absolutely.
There was a report. It was a long while ago. I believe it came from Daniel Richtman. If I'm mistaken about that, if it was another outlet or something, I apologize. Let us know, and we will rectify that. But there was a report that Moon Knight actually was going to feed into Blade, and I mean, werewolves and vampires. It's obvious. That seems highly possible. Yes. So you do bring up a good point. He could be Dracula in both franchises if that's where they go, or he could be Werewolf by Night in both franchises. It's not unheard of for Blade to go up against werewolves. So
Werewolf by Night.
It'll be interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah, I am just so excited for the Marvel Cinematic Universe to go supernatural. I mean, Blade is literally half man, half vampire, and Moon Knight's got his incredible history. If they go Jack Russell, I mean, bringing werewolves into it, I mean, like we've mentioned before, the MCU is at a place where they can basically do anything they want, and more oftentimes than not, it's going to be a hit. So I'm just really looking forward to see where they go with this.
Yeah, speaking of werewolves and vampires and ghouls and goblins and all of that good stuff, Marvel's other premier vampire had some recent news go down. So the Morbius film starring Jared Leto, which is a spin-off of Venom, part of the SPU MC, Sony's Pictures Universe of Marvel characters. Yeah, horrible title. But that was originally slated to come out on March 19th. Or maybe not originally, but most recently.
Yeah,
that was,
same day as Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Which would have been very interesting, because I expected one of them to move, and if it's Sony or Disney, it's not going to be Disney. So I kind of saw this coming. Go ahead.
Plus, we've heard rumors that the Snyder Cut is coming out in March too, so that could be right around then too.
I've heard March 20th. Because that's a Wednesday. But IGN released like a picture of like upcoming HBO Max stuff or whatever, and they had Zack Snyder's Justice League as March 20th, but then they deleted it shortly after. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see where that goes, and we do have a little bit of Snyder Cut to get into, but Morbius's new date, it's now slated to come out on October 8th of this year. And my big question with it is, does this mean that Venom 2 is going to be forced to move or not? It is currently slated for, and let me double check this. Yes, June 25th, right? And I think that the vaccine will presumably be widely available to the public. And I think that right now, I hope and believe that summer kind of window is going to be a viable time for theatrical releases. So that's not something I'm concerned about. At this point in time anyways. It's more that it was originally supposed to be Morbius and then Venom 2, right? Like that was the plan. And so I think it's
timeline-wise,
it's logical to infer that there is going to be plot elements in Morbius which will feed into Venom 2. But the way it is right now, Venom 2 is slated to come out before Morbius. So do you guys think it has to move, or do you think there's a chance that it doesn't?
I don't necessarily think it has to move. I don't necessarily think that there is going to be too many connection between the two. While they are both in the spump, it's I so far with what we've seen, I'm not seeing too many connections with Venom from what we've seen so far. Now, however, if Morbius does get delayed any further, I do think that Spider-Man 3 might have to be delayed, because I do believe that Morbius is going to have a lot of tie-in to Spider-Man 3 with its seeming connection to the MCU, whatever is going on there. Because it's odd, because we mentioned this a few episodes back, where we said that Morbius seems like it is definitely in the MCU, but then Venom was definitely not
in the MCU.
In the MCU.
Exactly.
So I'm really confused and / interested to see what they're going to do to tie them all together, because they're definitely, Morbius is a Far From Home spinoff for sure. There's the mural in the alleyway, the murderer, the murderer Spider-Man mural.
Michael Keaton
is at the end of the trailer as some sort of stinger. So if he was playing anybody else, they would have just told us already. So he's playing Adrian Toomes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's who
he's going to be the
playing.
Vulture.
So
you imagine how mad people would be if he's playing a different character?
Yeah,
I'd be so furious.
Riots.
For sure. Like that'd be totally messed up because like why not just say, hey guys, so that's not Adrian Toomes. This is in a different universe from the MCU. But they
would have said something if it wasn't.
Yeah.
Right.
One would hope.
So
but it is Sony, so we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about maybe potential Sinister Six stuff in Spider-Man 3, I don't think you do that without the Vulture. So and he's definitely has a major role in Morbius, or at least a role in Morbius. So
something. He's in the trailer.
Yeah, without a doubt. I wish that Feige would just Feige would come out and address the situation like he finally did with in my opinion anyways with the old era of TV shows very recently. If anyone has the opportunity to interview Kevin Feige on a press junket right now for WandaVision, if that's still a thing that's going on, please ask him about this.
Like,
ask him if they're canon.
I don't know how he hasn't been asked this yet.
Why hasn't
an MCU character shows up in a trailer for a Sony movie that's not supposed to be in the MCU? Mm-hmm. So how has nobody asked him this yet? Yeah. So.
Here's at least for me, because I know you're talking about me. I don't have any more access to that kind of stuff. I prepared probably about 40 questions for everybody on the junket. Feige, Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany. I did not get to ask one of them. That's tough. It really all just depends on, timing and the outlet and everything. Mm-hmm. Maybe someday. That would be obviously a dream interview. You mean Kevin friggin' Feige.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's good. I think that was very professional of you, though, because I mean, obviously going into it, I probably would have acknowledged that. Yeah, I'm probably not going to be able to, know. But I think
you got to prepare.
As journalists, I mean, you've got to be prepared because you never know. Like if somebody says, "Hey, Richard from the Illuminerdi," or the director, whoever you were with,
exactly,
and then you don't
want to be just
what's your favorite movie? So yeah,
I would rather have what happened to Charles Murphy happen to me than not be prepared. Like just a flat out.
Oh no. Yeah. Dude, yeah. I would love to be yelled at by Kevin.
That was probably one of the greatest moments of his life.
So.
Yeah, I've only been able to attend attend one press junket so far. It was for Godmother, which was a Disney Plus original, which was surprisingly good. I really enjoyed it. But I was not able to ask a question either. There was like 50 plus people in the junket, and there just wasn't quite enough time for it.
So you two,
I feel you, man.
You two got to see WandaVision early. You two have been to press junkets. I believe you two have both done interviews. What the heck? I'm getting gypped.
We're getting you on there eventually, Bryce.
Man, what is going on?
Yeah, you will take it to the higher ups.
Hey, hopefully this show will take off, and maybe it'll be good things for all three of us.
Man,
that would be great.
Yeah, do we need to talk about the ratings for the show, maybe, and then get those up? Like, what's going on? How come Bryce doesn't get any of that stuff?
Man. We'll get you there.
I'm joking, by the way, in case people at home are taking me seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to put this out there, if you are watching the show and you've been enjoying what we're doing here, please share it anywhere you can on social media. Tell your friends about it. We want people to tune in and hear what we have to say. We think we're entertaining. So, I mean, hopefully you do.
It's fun chatting with you guys.
And if you are Kevin Feige and want to do an interview with me, definitely let me know.
Gonna have to
not Richard or Corbin, just Bryce.
Yeah, my DMs are open on Twitter, Kevin Feige. So
but
just let me know what time works for you, and we'll get it scheduled.
You know what's funny is, like, regardless of what happens with ratings or us doing anything like this has been a fun time so far, and now that we actually have content to talk about, it's gonna get even better.
Yep. Yeah, it feels so good. But yeah, we you mentioned the Snyder Cut earlier, so I think we could get into that. So Harry Lennox, who played General Swanwick in Man of Steel and also Batman vs Superman, confirmed that they did shoot a scene where it's revealed that he is actually Martian Manhunter in Zack Snyder's Justice League. So that was pretty exciting. Yes,
it's about damn time.
But yeah, no, Bryce is definitely right. We discussed on the last episode that there was 2 scenes confirmed that were shot additionally. One which was, we didn't know what was in it, and then the other one features Joker and then presumably Mira and Deathstroke. Right? We can logically assume at this point that is the Nightmare scene, the one featuring Joker. So that would mean logically that the other one is Martian Manhunter. My question still remains: is how long are these going to be? Because we got into that last time. It was about 3.5 hours that was shot originally, and now we've got allegedly just 2 more scenes with Martian Manhunter and then Joker. So,
all right, but like if you remember what we discussed last week, that Zack Snyder was filming additional scenes while principal photography was going.
Secret footage,
like secret scenes that the studios did not endorse or whatever. So a lot of those scenes are going to be in the Snyder Cut as well. So
to be a fly on the wall in that set.
That'd be wild.
Right?
But so no, I like I said, I don't think that we're gonna see 15 minutes each for both of these scenes.
That would be dope.
I think
as
they're
cool
going
as
to
that
be,
would be. You're probably right.
I think we're going to get the average length, because at that point we're getting a Martian Manhunter and Joker short film in the middle of Justice League,
Right, exactly.
So you can't have that. So that
totally
just won't work. So
there's also
as much as it would be cool as much as it would be cool for a standalone thing, you can't just insert that in the middle of a movie.
There's also, of course, Green Lantern to be considered, right? Because I don't know if it was ever outright confirmed that Green Lantern would play a big role in this movie. All I do know is Zack Snyder responded to the question of, was the Green Lantern in the theatrical cut who just shows up in that background scene, was that him or was that Whedon? And that was confirmed to be a Whedon.
What I heard, that the Alfred scene that you're referring to, who Alfred was talking to, wasn't originally Superman. It was Green Lantern.
Interesting. So do you think it's possible that Green Lantern was removed from the film?
I don't know what's going on there because if that's true, then it's weird. That doesn't really make too much sense, The only Green Lantern stuff I've heard. I expect that sorry, Richard.
No worries. Go for it.
But I expect that Green Lantern will be in the film in some way, shape, or form, but I just don't know to what extent. So, Richard, go ahead.
Yeah. The only Green Lantern stuff that I remember really hearing was the whole Ryan Reynolds released the Green Lantern cut, which was rewatching that movie now is just...
what I think I actually saw like a story come out. It was from this site called We Got This Covered, and and they said that Ryan Reynolds could be coming back as Green Lantern.
They're not the only ones. Grace Randolph of Beyond the Trailer was also very confident that Ryan Reynolds is playing Green Lantern. So 2 very reliable outlets there.
The only legitimate thing about
oh man, that's great.
The only legitimate Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern thing I will believe is that post-credit scene at the end of Deadpool 2, which by the way,
that was awesome.
Might have been my that was
dude. I was dying. I was dying in the theater. I don't think I've ever laughed that hard at a movie. Like that was the most hilarious. That's the most hilarious scene I think I've seen in a movie. Period. Like that is hilarious.
And then him with Wolverine too, just
yeah. That was tight. It's sad that that's probably the only scene we'll ever have of Ryan Reynolds as the proper Deadpool and Hugh Jackman
with Wolverine.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's disappointing.
But yeah, moving back to the Snyder Cut, so Ray Fisher's Cyborg obviously is going to be in the Snyder Cut. It'll be a much more pivotal role than it was in the theatrical cut. Zack Snyder has described him as the heart of the movie on a few different occasions, and there was at one point in time a Cyborg movie was actually announced to be in development, and it was also been confirmed that Cyborg was going to be to have a role in the upcoming Flash movie. However, that is not going to be the case anymore. Ray Fisher has officially been removed from the plot of the Flash. Question remains: will he ever play the character again? With his statement that he refuses to work on any project that Walter Hamada is attached to. And Walter Hamada is going to be there till I think at least 2023, 2024.
Yeah.
They recently re-upped his deal. So for a good few more years, I think Ray Fisher's done as Cyborg. I don't think we're going to see him again after Zack Snyder's Justice League. What do you guys think about that news?
I'm about 99% sure he's done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm 99. I'm probably 100%. I mean, that he's done. But the question then lies, a Cyborg was supposed to be a pretty important part of the DCEU and especially the Flash. The Flash, that version of the Flash even mentioned him in Crisis on Infinite Earths. So he was still a very important character at that time. So that begs the question: are they eventually going to recast? And how big of the outcry will there be whenever they do? Because the Flash will probably more than likely involve Flashpoint at some point, to where they can do some sort of rearranging things and hopefully get things back together to where they can actually have a structuralized format for this DCEU. But will they recast Ray Fisher's Cyborg and explain that through Flashpoint? I think sure. if they plan to use the character in the future, then yes. But if they're just going to completely toss him off to the side and forget that he ever happened, then probably not.
Go ahead, Rich.
I just don't know if you can cast Cyborg completely off to the side for the Justice League movie. I mean, he may not be like the man of the Justice League, but he's an important part of the team. So I don't know.
Well, that's if they ever even make another Justice League movie. Who said they're making another Justice League movie, right?
That's a great point.
This wasn't something that I actually planned to get into, but Ray Porter, who plays Darkseid in Zack Snyder's Justice League, made a comment along the lines of, if you like what you see in Zack Snyder's Justice League, you know what to do. So Darkseid thinks a sequel is possible at the very least.
Right.
So I think that means something.
Ray Fisher said that he would be open to a Justice League sequel. I assume that means with Zack Snyder, because he's been very complimentary of Zack Snyder. They worked together on Batman v Superman. They worked together on Justice League for the time that Snyder was there. I think he and Snyder would work together again. I just don't know if that's ever going to happen.
But Ray Fisher said that if Walter Hamada is attached, which he would be because he's the head of DC Films, that he is going to refuse to be a part of any of it.
Exactly. Even with Snyder.
And let me be clear here before the Snyder fan come in. I believe that what Ray Fisher is saying happened. Okay, I am not at all disputing that any of that didn't happen or shouldn't be spoken out about. I do think that Ray Fisher has really just shot himself in the foot, though, with how he has handled this whole situation. He has been very unprofessional in regards to trying to figure out the best way to handle this in regards to the investigation and stuff like that. He's been leaking phone calls, which in some states, I'm pretty sure is illegal to record people without their permission. And so, he has been and now don't get me wrong. Let me be clear that the people on the set of Justice League were also being very unprofessional too, but you can't fight unprofessional. You know what I'm trying to say.
Unprofessionalism.
Yeah, you can't fight unprofessionalism with unprofessionalism, in my opinion. You're just stooping down to their level at that point. So I definitely think that Ray Fisher has really shot himself in the foot, and in that regard, shot his career in the foot as well. So he's
going to be something to watch going forward.
I support the fact that there was definitely wrongdoing on the set of Justice League, but I do not support the way that it's been handled. So.
I'm with you on that.
I definitely agree. I think in the case of Ray Fisher, you can't help but feel bad for him kind of in the beginning of the story. Here's someone who does not a established actor in Hollywood who gets brought on to this huge production, Batman versus Superman and Justice League, and Zack Snyder and Chris Terrio bring him in and let him have close insight and input even on the character that he's playing, which is something a lot of actors are never afforded, And then he thinks he's going to get to tell this story, and then he doesn't. everything that happened. Joss Whedon comes in, his story's cut to shreds, and I'm sure that was heartbreaking, and I'm sure, like you said, there was a lot of unprofessionalism going down throughout that, and I applaud him for getting the investigation done in the first place. Warner Brothers stated that remedial action was taken as a result of the investigation. Joss Whedon exiting a TV show, I think called The Nevers, seems like that was a part of it, right? And that was the place to stop. That was where he should have called it a day. But he had to take down Walter Hamada, and he had to take down Jeff Johns, and that just wasn't going to happen. And he also there's never been innocent until proven guilty is an important part of society. Okay. And he's never even outright stated what Johns did outside of general claims of racism, or Hamada generally interfering with the investigation, but he's never really stated how, and I'm a Cyborg fan. I want more Cyborg. I was excited for him in The Flash. There are a lot of people who feel the same way, and now we're not going to get that. And it's tough. It's a crappy situation all around.
All in all, it just sucks for the fans, and
yes,
like you were saying, Bryce, what happened to Ray Fisher probably happened, but he has taken this to such an extreme level that I think it's hurting him more than it's helping him.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's fighting against injustice, and then there's, what Ray Fisher is doing, and he's trying to fight every single injustice, and you can't do that,
Exactly. You gotta pick it out.
Yeah. You can't justify. It's funny how often I've been using Justice League in this, but you can't justify every single wrongdoing that has ever happened, So, I mean, he won with the Joss Whedon thing. Joss Whedon was removed from that one project, the Nevers.
Yeah.
So, they did something, but you can't.
But he had to keep going.
Fix everything.
He couldn't call it a day there.
Exactly. That's just not how this world works. It's unfortunate. I wish everybody who did some sort of wrongdoing would be held accountable, but that's just not how the real world works.
Seriously.
This isn't a fantasy movie like Justice League where you can take down the bad guy and the heroes always win. That's not how that works. And again, I wish that people would be held accountable, but if they're not, then you need to step back and accept that this is just the way that it's going to be, and I don't think that the world should be that way, but it kind of is. And so I think at some point you just need to accept that. So that's my stance on that.
Yeah. Well, that was super dour and depressing. On to a bit of happier news. So it was reported that Chris Evans may potentially be returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Steve Rogers. We don't know in what way, shape, or form. And Evans did tweet saying, first I've heard of it, or something along those lines, kind of saying, I don't know about that, but Marvel actors.
I remember Tatiana Maslany or whatever.
Tatiana Maslany,
Maslany,
same exact thing.
Yeah. Jamie Foxx was like, "Oh, I'm not in Spider-Man 3," after posting something on his Instagram about it.
It's a Marvel thing.
So, how do y'all feel about that? Or would you like to see more Steve Rogers as played by Chris Evans? What's the plan?
I think it all depends on the project, because there was a rumor from Charles Murphy that they were thinking about doing a Nomad project. One of the things I was thinking is that could maybe dive into his time between Captain America Civil War and Avengers Infinity War. So if they go with something like that, I think that would be pretty cool. He'll probably be back for What If, because I think almost everybody is coming back for What If, the animated series. And Chris Evans has always said that he would be open to returning to the role if it was the right story. So I think if this happens, if this comes into play, I trust Marvel to do the right story for Captain America.
Here are the only two scenarios besides What If that I would want to see him come back in.
I think I know where you're going with this.
The Nomad show, like that you just mentioned earlier, or at the very end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, whenever, let's be honest, Sam Wilson becomes Captain America, he does the full transition or whatever. He's there to convince him that it is his turn to take the shield and become Captain America. Those are the only two scenarios where I would like to see Chris Evans come back as Captain America. I do not want to see him do a Robert Downey Jr. Type thing where he
Yeah.
came back for Civil War and came back for Homecoming, because that was a completely different scenario. Tony Stark's story was not over yet.
Yeah.
And whereas Steve Rogers, his story is done. Same thing with Tony Stark. I don't want to see him back. His story is done. So
I think the only other instance I would be okay with is like a little thing in Secret Invasion, maybe. And I don't even want it to be like that Cap was a Skrull the whole time.
Yeah, that'd be unfortunate.
Yeah, that would be the only other thing if they did it the right way with that.
I think for me, if Cap is going to return, what I would like to see is in the timeline where he goes back and gets to live out his life with Peggy. I would like to see him alongside Prince Namor the Submariner and the original Human Torch, Jim Hammond, and do an Invaders TV show or movie, because that is a really cool, really underrated team. The Human Torch is actually in an Easter egg in Captain America, the First Avenger. So it'd kind of come full circle there. That'd be really cool. So yeah, whether it happens or not remains to be seen. There are a few cool ways to make it happen, though, if it does.
And with the multiverse, you could play both Captain America and the Human Torch.
That would be great.
We are running out of time on the Zoom call here. There's a few other tidbits of news. Do y'all want to get into that, or you think we want to call it?
We can do a short one.
Okay.
Yeah, we gotta speed it up though. We got like 2 minutes left.
Right on.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, I can probably run for another 10, 15 minutes when we do another call.
Cool.
Okay,
right,
so we're gonna do another call then?
Yeah, I'll send it in just a second. I'll see you guys back in just a moment.
All right, yeah. So I know we only have a couple other news stories to get to. I know, Bryce, you had a good one, right?
Right. Yeah. So we were just talking about how Steve Rogers could be coming back as in the MCU at some point, and I mentioned that one of the only two reasons that I would like to see him come back would be to help Sam Wilson with the transition into Captain America. And kind of a funny story with this. So Anthony Mackie was in an interview talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier and how fans have speculated, not even really speculated because it's pretty much clear, but that he will be Captain America by the end of the show. And then he was like, well, if you watch Endgame, Sam never really accepts the shield. Rise of
Skywalker merch. It's the Rise of Skywalker cup.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't even realize that's what I had. That's our Star Wars news for the show today. You were saying.
Yeah. But yeah, so he was mentioning how Sam never actually accepted the shield in Endgame. It's just like, yeah, okay, but you're not gonna have that scene in Endgame and not have Sam Wilson become you can't make Bucky Captain America. After that scene in Endgame, that just wouldn't make any sense. So he's like, well, if you notice, like a lot of the time, like suits and stuff get leaked for this, and nothing's leaked for my show. Nobody's ever seen me in a Captain America suit, have they? And how soon after?
Later.
1 day later?
24 hours.
24 hours later, Sam Wilson in the Captain America suit leaks through a toy that will be released for the show. And so, looks like Anthony Mackie should have knocked on wood there a little bit. Looks like he jinxed himself, but yeah. So right? Sam Wilson will be Captain America by the end of the show, and I like his suit. I mean, obviously he still keeps the wings as he does in the comics. So that's cool. So I mean, there still will be a little bit of Falcon in him because obviously that was a really cool part of the character, like him being able to fly around. So it's cool to see that they're following suit with the comics and having Captain America keep the wings. And I always love the red, white, and blue suits that Marvel does. Obviously, Captain America suit's great. I love the Iron Patriot suits that they did. Especially the one in Iron Man 3.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was probably my favorite part of Iron Man 3 was the Iron Patriot suit. And then they did the Iron Patriot War Machine suit in Endgame.
Right.
You couldn't really see it very well, but it was really cool too. And it kind of reminds me of the Sam Wilson Captain America suit. Kind of reminds me of Iron Patriot a little bit.
Yeah, you could see the colors in the Iron Patriot suit in Endgame most actually when he was with Tony as he was dying.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But really, the only time I really got a real good look at it was images later. Like concept art or something. So, but
totally.
But like I said, I see a lot of sort of the Iron Patriot like color schemes. Obviously it's red, white, and blue, so yeah, I get it. But you know, it reminds me a lot more of Iron Patriot than it does just another Captain America suit. So I kind of like it for that. You know, it's more metallic-y, I think so. So yeah,
absolutely.
I'm definitely on board because I mean you got to keep the robotic features for the arms. So what are you guys' thoughts on Captain America's new suit?
I'm excited. I think it looks good. It looks very similar to the comics version of the suit. So, you know, as a fan of the comics, I appreciate seeing, you know, kind of an accurate suit translation from the source material to the big screen, because that's not something that we always get. You know, the Marvel TV shows were kind of notoriously bad about that, with rare exception like Daredevil and Punisher and stuff.
Yeah.
So it definitely, I think it looks great. I don't think it comes as any surprise that he's officially going to be Cap. We all saw it coming. It does suck that he made that comment like within 24 hours of the toy leaking. That's really unfortunate, but yeah. I'm happy with it. I think it's cool. What about you, Rich?
I'm excited for it. And the thing that's interesting too is it seems like he's going to have maybe 2 to 3 different suits in this series, because we saw the one that he was walking in with Bucky at the end of the first trailer. It was the kind of red and white one more. Where he's joking around with Bucky. And then it'll be interesting to see how many suits he goes through, and especially kind of seeing how it ties back to the plot of the show, you know, as he's working up to taking on the mantle of Captain America. I am just so excited for this show overall, because originally this one, we were mentioning earlier about like timelines and everything with the whole Morbius Venom thing. This one was actually originally supposed to be the first one to release for Disney Plus before WandaVision took it over.
Yeah.
So we
should have seen it a while ago, back in like October, I believe.
Yeah, September, October.
Yeah. So and then WandaVision, we should be seeing it right now. So that worked out, well, because they did move it up before all of this weird stuff started happening. So we were always supposed to get WandaVision right now. So I don't think anything else will really get delayed bad after this.
Hopefully not.
But yeah. So. I don't know. Corbin, did you?
I'm excited for Cap. I don't really have many more thoughts on it. I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier will be really cool for a lot of reasons, but I'm excited to see how it compares to WandaVision in terms of season structure, right? Because Kevin Feige did say that the Marvel Disney Plus TV shows are going to follow one of 2 formats. It's going to be like WandaVision, where you get about 9 to 10 episodes that are like approximately half-hour chunks per season. Or it'll be like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where it's going to be about 6 episodes running for about 45 minutes to an hour. And I just want to see how these stack up against each other, because I'm really digging it with WandaVision. It's awesome. You know,
and
I'm really enjoying
I love the contrast between all of them too.
So yeah, I'm definitely excited for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think it's incredible that it's going to start as soon as WandaVision ends. That makes me so happy. Yeah. That's all I really got on it. Do y'all want to get into the Black Panther stuff now?
Yeah, I'm down to do that.
Right on.
Yeah, so this is a leak from Fandom Wire, who has been releasing a lot of exclusives lately. Obviously, with all these kinds of rumors, we have to take it with a grain of salt. But apparently, the plot of Black Panther 2 is going to circle around a few things. Shuri will be taking over the Black Panther mantle, which, you know, there's only a couple of options. She's obviously, you know, Black Panther's sister and everything. The fact that Michael B. Jordan will come back as Killmonger in some capacity. I've heard rumors about it maybe being Soul World, stuff like that, but we don't know. We've also heard rumors that Dr. Doom is going to be involved as some kind of villain, along with Namor the Submariner. I would lean more toward Namor, because it seems like they would want to build up something like that, especially after DC's success with Aquaman. But you know, I'm curious to see what does end up happening with it. How about you guys?
I'm a wait and see on it. I see Shuri becoming Black Panther, and Doctor Doom showing up kind of makes sense, but then kind of really doesn't, because we do have Fantastic Four coming out here soon. But you would think that his first appearance would be in that as a part of like an origin for that. You know, unless we're saying that the Fantastic Four team has been formed for a while now.
Right.
You know, which I don't really think would make too much sense, because where have they been? So
only thing I could see is Quantum Realm stuff, but that's about it.
So Namor, I could. There's always been rumors about that too. I don't see them ever spinning him off into his own solo project though, because of the whole rights issue with Universal.
Mhm.
So I don't think they're going to try to copy the success of Aquaman per se. But
Yeah.
I do see him coming into the MCU at some point, and in Black Panther it does make sense.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
Killmonger, I think that one, oddly, out of Doctor Doom, Namor, and Shuri becoming Black Panther, Killmonger seems to be the most ridiculous out there one
I agree.
for me. So, you know, I mean, he obviously died in the first Black Panther, but I mean, if you've seen any of these movies before, you know that doesn't necessarily mean that he's actually dead or anything.
Death is an absolute in the MCU.
But you know, and it could be a flashback sort of thing as well if they want to do something weird like that, or like you said, Richard, it could be something to do with the Soul Gem, or the Soul Realm. So yeah, I mean, a lot of it does make sense. So I do mostly believe this leak. But we'll just have to wait to see going forward once more.
It doesn't even
Black
start
Panther.
filming for 6 months. So.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see it till once filming starts, and I think we'll get a better idea then of what's going on.
Absolutely.
I've just spun together a quick little hypothetical out in my mind that would kind of tie all these things together. Imagine a Black Panther 2, where it opens with the death of T'Challa. So Wakanda is now a nation without their beloved ruler. That is obviously how it's going to open. You know, they have to address the passing of T'Challa. And then you've got Latveria, run by Dr. Doom, and then Atlantis, run by Namor, both closing in on Wakanda, both wanting to take their resources and stuff, right? And so that's how they could both factor into the plot. So, yeah, and so they wouldn't be defenseless, of course, but they wouldn't be as prepared for battle as they can. The heart-shaped herbs are gone, right? And they're obviously not going to touch the corpse of T'Challa. What if they've got the corpse of Killmonger and we're able to extract the essence of the heart-shaped herb from him and put it into Shuri, and that's how she gets her powers? You know, I know that's kind of crazy and out there, but it could be a cool movie.
I mean, Marvel in general is crazy and out there. So, you know,
comic books in general.
Yeah.
So I think
it's definitely not impossible.
It's not impossible.
Yeah, I think there is a way to work all of these elements in. Killmonger is definitely the one I'm most hesitant about. I don't want to see him back from the dead because I thought he was possibly the strongest element of the first film. He was incredible. He had a great story, and his death was profound. You know, that speech that he gives at the end of it, that was super moving. And I don't want to see any of that undone. Shuri taking up the mantle is kind of what I always assumed would happen and had hoped would happen. So I'm really cool with that if that does turn out to be true. Doom, I don't know if I need Dr. Doom in a Black Panther project right now. I just don't see much reason for it. I don't know what that's going to do for either franchise, really, either Fantastic Four or Black Panther. But it could be done well. So
personally, for me with Doom, I just see him as such an integral part of the Fantastic Four story that I don't see how they would do that movie, at least at first, without Dr. Doom. I don't know we don't know if it's going to be an origin story or not. I've heard rumors that maybe they'll do some quantum realm stuff with, you know, them being kind of gone for a little while. Maybe it takes place in the past or something like that.
Yeah. But
I just don't see how you do an MCU Fantastic Four movie without Dr. Doom.
Yeah. And as for, and I definitely agree with that. I think he could show up here and then show up in Fantastic Four later. I'd be, I think, more happy if he starts out in the Fantastic Four project, but
I agree.
The biggest kicker of this, though, the one thing that I hope is true with all my heart is that Namor is a factor in Black Panther 2. So I love Namor. I think he's way cooler than Aquaman. He's, you know, he's rude, he's mean, he's violent. He's not above just killing people just to get the job done, and you know, he's not above waging war on the surface world for Atlantis. He is a hero unlike any other that we've seen in the MCU. So if he is in this, I'm going to be super happy. And you do make a good point about the complications with Universal, because that would make a solo film franchise difficult. But if She-Hulk is anything to go off of, we could get a Namor TV show on Disney Plus. It seems like that
I did hear
possible.
rumors from a while ago that Marvel may be getting the rights back to characters like Hulk and Namor. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if it's come to fruition. But if that happens, we could totally get a Namor movie.
That would be awesome, because it's crazy to me that those issues with Universal have not been worked out at this point, especially considering the relationship that they have with Sony at this point, that it seems like they're working together. Both companies are profiting. A similar deal could easily be struck with Universal, and it's baffling that it hasn't happened.
Well, I mean,
Seriously.
they have struck a similar deal though, because they do allow Hulk to be in the MCU.
Mhm.
It's just that
Right.
that for some reason they can't solo films with
Mhm.
Hulk.
Right, exactly.
So they do have a similar deal. So they are working together. It's just it would be nice for Marvel to have the full rights back. So
Yeah.
if they wanted to do a Hulk film with Mark Ruffalo, then they can. I don't think that's really on the table anymore, though.
Mhm.
I don't really see where else you go with a Mark Ruffalo standalone film now. I
I
feel
am
like,
glad he's going to be in She-Hulk, though.
yeah,
That'd be dope.
I'm glad that he'll be in She-Hulk. It's not like a Captain America or Tony Stark thing to where I never want to see them again. No offense to those characters, it's just those stories. Their stories are over. But so I don't necessarily feel that same way with Hulk. I just don't see how they can make a whole brand new full length feature Hulk film.
Well, I would
So-
say what's awesome about Hulk, and one of the things that I really love about the Immortal Hulk comic book series, which like I feel like I mention like every time we do a show. I just it's my favorite Hulk story ever. It's one of my favorite Marvel comics ever. And in it, they tackle the different personalities and the different versions of Banner and Hulk. You know, Professor Hulk, Joe Fixit, Devil Hulk, the Green Scar, World Breaker Hulk, all these different things. They tackle it in a way not unlike how Moon Knight comes at it. They treat it almost as if Bruce Banner has DID, you know, different identity disorder.
Okay.
And so a Hulk movie that could get into that or could explore some different personas, because it's like Professor Hulk is not necessarily the last version of this character. It seems like it is. It's posited in the film as, you know, he's merged the two,
a destination,
and all's well and done, and we're not going to have any more issues with Banner and Hulk not getting along. I don't buy that for a second. I think I don't, you know,
I don't know. I kind of do. It's just the way that it was presented in Endgame. Like it was them wrapping up Bruce Banner and Hulk's arc.
In the Infinity Saga. But I mean, his arc is continuing in She-Hulk. This is a confirmed fact.
I suppose I don't necessarily see them going that route. I think it would be cool if they did, but I think they would be kind of reversing some things that they kind of tied up in Endgame. So we'll see. But
I think there is a way that you can build off of Bruce Banner's story from Endgame and, you know, add more layers and more identities to the Hulk without necessarily undoing it. But Bruce is like Deadpool to me in the sense that I don't want the character to have a happy ending. When Hulk and Deadpool are content and things are going well, they get boring. They get stale. Okay. I want to see the darkness and the destruction inherent in both of their souls. So that's what I'm hoping for. Whether or not that's something that I get, I don't know. Well, we'll see.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I know it's going to be a while, but I cannot wait for MCU Deadpool.
That's going to be awesome.
Amazing.
Yep. Yep, that's going to be awesome. And it's going to be rated R as well. So Kevin Feige did confirm that. That's great to hear. So
the R rating,
I believe that'll be the first R-rated MCU movie then.
Yeah, definitely. That'll definitely be.
Unless Blade comes out and is rated R. So,
Fair point.
I think
Blade could be rated.
With Deadpool 3 getting an R rating, I think that's highly possible, arguably even probable in the case of Blade. It's interesting because, you know, it'll be the first R-rated movie, and I realize R and TVMA aren't exactly apples to apples, but it is effectively the TV equivalent of it. Yeah, and if we're going to see Matt Murdock in Spider-Man 3, right? So we're going to see a character from what is effectively an R-rated property appearing in Spider-Man, and that's not something I ever expected to happen. So
that's totally fair. Absolutely.
Well, just think about this: like, if they do continue the Spider-Man deal, we could see Deadpool in a Spider-Man movie, like Spider-Man 4. So
I want that badly.
We might even see him in this Spider-Man movie for all we know. You know, multiverse. You know. So
I've mentioned this before. I want him to show up in a post-credits scene so badly.
Who knows? Maybe this December we'll see Ryan Reynolds Deadpool in a post-credits scene for Spider-Man. I think that'd be the perfect way to bring him in for the first time to the MCU, is to just do a post-credit scene at the end of Spider-Man, the one coming out in December.
Spider-Man 3,
yeah. I think that would probably be the most faithful way to bring him into the MCU. Yeah. Because I mean, technically both of them are from different companies, right?
Yeah,
both Deadpool
totally.
and Sony.
Sony
so
and
they
Fox.
so they can joke with each other about this, like, "Hey, where are you from?" Like, like I'm from Fox or something.
Oh my God.
And Spider-Man just has no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah, it's like,
You just see him just like,
well, it looks like the corporate overlords have brought us together at last.
Yeah, whenever we do get to see those two interact, which I think certainly will happen sooner or later, it's going to be a dream come true for so many people.
that has been the project I've been waiting for at least 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, that'll definitely be awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's about it. That covers everything.
Yeah,
that
is all the big news that we have. So I've really enjoyed doing the show again. I love doing this every week. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in. We love having you. We love bringing the news to you, and we hope you enjoy it as much as we do. You got any closing thoughts, Bryce?
Just happy to be here. Thank you all for watching. Thanks to everybody who's been watching the show. I've seen people from episode 1 that are still watching, so I appreciate everybody continuing to support It's All Connected and the Illuminerdi. That being said, if you haven't already, be sure to leave a like down below. It helps out the YouTube algorithm a ton.
Mm-hmm,
and continue to be leaving comments. That helps out too. Any engagement on these videos helps us out, and so we can reach new fans and new people to join us on this crazy, wacky adventure. So, yep, I think that's all I have to say on that.
Well, we will see you guys back next week where we can finally talk about WandaVision 3 because Bryce will have seen it.
And after next week, we will all be on the same page.
Yes.
After next week.
Unless like Marvel goes, "Hey Richard, you want to see the whole thing or whatever?"
God, I highly doubt that'll happen.
Yeah. Hey Richard, we have a assembly cut of Spider-Man for you.
Sorry, what?
Yeah.
Sorry, what, Marvel? Do you say what?
It'll be a good time. But yeah,
man, I would be beyond jealous if that happened. Like I wouldn't just be jokingly jealous. I think I would have to quit the show for a couple weeks. Like if you got to see Spider-Man.
Hey, regardless, we got more WandaVision, and
Absolutely.
We'll be looking forward to it next week.
Definitely. We will see you all then. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, it's all connected.
See you, everybody.